What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 7, episode 13, I believe. Y'all, let's jump right into this review. So everybody meets up, and this is basically their last meetup together with everyone there because, as you know, we are finally to the last episode. So Tommy ends up letting everyone know that they are going to meet the ladies' family. Last time we met the guys' family, now we're going to meet the ladies' families. And the first couple that we see up is Tony and Morgan. She's actually going to introduce him to her brother, and let's talk about how the conversation goes. So again, Morgan says that Tony is a man's man. I feel like we can play a drinking game every time she says that that man is an alpha man or a man's man. But honestly, everything that she told her brother sounded like every red flag that she has about him. She mentioned how he is aggressive. She mentioned how he had an entanglement with Natasha. Him being from New York seemed like a problem for her brother. I'm like, well, girl, why are you introducing him to your family? If you got all these issues with this man, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's clear that he's not the man for you. So in this conversation, it is clear that her brother does not like the fact that Tony is aggressive and the fact that he's from New York. So Tony explains that there was a situation where she was also dating somebody else, and basically the aggression got the best of both of them because he wasn't the only person who was aggressive. Lyndon was as well. Now, according to Tony, it would never happen again, but according to her brother, he's like, well, if you do get aggressive, then I have to get involved. Now, in his confessional, Tony does say, what is Morgan telling her brother for him to come at me about aggression when I haven't even been aggressive towards her? Now, to Tony's defense, he hasn't exactly been aggressive towards her. He hasn't raised his voice towards her or anything like that. Now, has he been upset? Yes. But when I say he's aggressive towards Morgan? No. But he has, shown aggressive behavior towards Lyndon because he felt like Lyndon was trying to get at his girl. And then when the brother brought up the entanglement, it was clear that Tony was confused as to why her brother would even be mentioning this. Because if you're trying to introduce me to your family, why are you airing out all of my dirty laundry? That is not going to put any type of good taste in anybody's mouth when you make it seem like I'm a horrible person. I done cheated on you. I'm aggressive. She is really over here making it seem like this man is the worst man on the planet. And if that's the case, then why are you even trying to make this man be your man? Why are you sitting up here even introducing Tony to your family if his behavior is questionable to you? Now, according to Tony, he feels like Morgan is the one for him. Do I think that Morgan is the one for him? Absolutely not. But I just feel like he's saying that so that way we can go ahead and wrap up this episode, because at this point, he's already made it all the way to the end. Now, even though her brother does see the red flags in Tony, as far as aggression goes, he kind of feels like he's a stand-up guy. According to Morgan, though, she don't even know if he's really worth it, to be honest. She feels like he's worth it for the moment, but we shall see. And I'm just like, girl, just admit that you and Tony are not a thing. It's okay. Y'all made it this far. You don't really have to make it to the end. Y'all don't have to choose each other. Why are we trying to force something that doesn't need to be forced? All right, now let's go ahead and slide on over to Cynthia, because she's going to introduce Andre and Anthony to her cousins as well as her sister. And the first person to arrive was Andre. And baby, listen, I think it was her cousin. I think her name was like Tarnishka or something like that. TT, that's what I'm going to call her. She was not here for Andre because every time he said something, she was rolling her eyes and listening to him while he was talking. But you could tell it was going through her head like, I noticed ain't up here saying this. He's using that line. You can tell that those were the things that were going through her head. And at one point, one of the cousins asked him are you ready for, love at this point to be married, because he mentioned how he was in a previous relationship with a young woman who was 23 years old, and the young lady had a child previously. Now, here he is dating women who have children, and they're asking him a valid question. Are you ready for marriage? He says, I don't think anybody is ready for marriage, but they desire it. Baby, the friend was like, and what exactly do you mean by that? I feel like that caught him off guard, and he didn't know what to say. Because he then flipped it to, I don't think anyone will ever be ready for her. I'm not perfect, but, I can be there for her. I'm like, sir, you don't know what to say. Sit down somewhere. And next thing you know, here comes Anthony. So, of course, the ladies ask for him to, say things about himself. He mentions his work. He mentions that he has a daughter, and how, even though she has 2 children, that does not bother him at all, because he has been in a household where his mom has dated men who came in as stepfathers. So he is not afraid to be a stepdad. Cool. So then they ask Andre the question. He says that he's been a stepfather multiple times as well. I said, okay, here's the thing. What y'all gonna stop doing is throwing out this whole stepfather word. You were not a stepfather. You did not marry any of these women that you dated with children. So you were not a stepfather. You were just the man who was dating the lady who had kids. Let's stop playing this game. You probably don't keep in touch with those children, so let's not act like you were a stepfather. Also, according to Andre, he says that he's been hurt in the past, but he's going to stop moving out of fear, I guess, and he's going to take a chance when it comes to dating Cynthia. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Y'all know I don't see it for Andre and Cynthia. I just think he needs to go ahead and choose Jeffrey at this point. So he has to head out, and the only person left there is Anthony. You have her cousin saying how, they really want Cynthia to find somebody who is really there for her, basically going to be her partner, her rock, because clearly Cynthia has been a guiding light in her family. It is clear that everyone in her family wants to see the best for Cynthia, because she probably has been one of the strongest supporters of everybody else in her family. I can absolutely see that, just because of the type of woman that she has shown herself to be. And like how one of the cousins said, how, basically Cynthia inspires her. You know what I'm saying? So of course they want to see the best for her. And each one of them expressed how much they want to see the best for her. And I feel like in this situation, Anthony was probably the most secure in his answers when it comes to Cynthia, and how he expressed how she doesn't, she's not used to receiving love. She's not used to surprises. And that is something that he will definitely give her. And I'm just like, all right, cool, Anthony. I see it for Cynthia and Anthony. I feel like he came in here cool, calm, collected. He was comfortable with her family. He wasn't trying to be flashy. Like, I don't know. It's something about the vibe. It was there. At least to me it was. When it comes to her family, it seemed like they like both dudes for different reasons, but I just feel like we need to get on one accord and root for Anthony when it comes to Cynthia. Like, let's be honest here. Let's stop playing games. Anthony is the better choice out of Anthony and Andre for Cynthia. Now, y'all, this is random what I'm about to say, but what was that little rap that was on while Mercedes was walking up to the restaurant that she was going to? I was so confused. I was like, who is rapping this? What is this? Absolutely not. Nonetheless, we have Mercedes. And she decided that she's going to have Mark Anthony meet with her friend. No, not an actual family member, but her friend on this date. Alright, so Mark Anthony gets there, and here's the thing. I feel like Vanessa is really about to go in on Mark Anthony, because you can hear it all in her tone. So she ends up asking him about this whole him possibly living in New York situation. And according to him, he goes to New York, he makes the money that he makes, and he also has a place in Miami. So he wants Mercedes to basically, follow him, I guess, bouncing from New York to Florida. And the friend is like, why should she have to do that? All this stuff. And my only thing is, isn't she a flight attendant? I'm not trying to be funny, but like, she not gonna be in Florida all the time anyways. Last time that I checked, Mercedes was a flight attendant. Therefore, she is flying all across the world all the time. So this whole long distance conversation, technically their relationship would be rather weird because she's always MIA as well. So it's so funny that they're making such a big deal about him being in New York sometimes when she's only going to be in Miami sometimes. If you are a flight attendant, especially she's been a flight attendant for a minute now, she definitely is flying in and out of Miami all the time. So why are we acting like this is about to be the biggest deal breaker in the world? So as they are going back and forth about this, the friend ends up calling him out like, you seem like you're stubborn. And he's like, yeah, that's one of the issues that I do have, but I'm working on it or whatever. And then that led to a whole nother conversation about how is he the type of guy that's like basically controlling and whatever he says goes or whatever. And he was trying to explain like, no, like once my mind is made up on something, then that's what I want to go ahead and fulfill. Like that's what I want to get done. If I'm being honest, I feel like the friend just wanted to ask a bunch of questions and try to trip him up. That's what it sounded like to me. She was quite annoying. I really wasn't here for it. So Mark Anthony, he ends up leaving. And the friend is like, he seems like he's your type, but let's be honest, the relationship would be long distance. Here's my thing. I don't understand how we even got to the point of this may be a long distance relationship because it has never been mentioned on this entire season that we've had with this group right here that Mark Anthony mostly lives in New York. We never got that. On the last episode, his cousin said, he might want to move back to New York. Not that he currently bounces back and forth between Miami and New York. So how did we get here? And then on top of that, like I said, Mercedes is a flight attendant. So it's not like she's home all the time working a 9 to 5. Like literally, I know someone who works in Miami as a flight attendant, and my friend is always flying in and out of town. Sometimes she has layovers, you know what I'm saying, in other countries, in other states. She is not always at home. So regardless of him being in New York, him being in Miami, it doesn't really matter because she ain't there all the time anyways. So it's annoying to me that nobody's taking into account that her career is also not conventional at all. All right, y'all, but let's go ahead and move along. We have Jeffrey. Her sister is going to be meeting with Andre. Her sister's very pretty. Jeffrey's very pretty. One thing I want to point out is Jeffrey and his Ice Queen wig that she has on. I don't understand what's happening. Who told her to go that blonde? I'm not a fan. But let's go ahead and get into the date. Now, according to Andre, Jeffrey is the most spiritual woman there, and she's also the most feminine. I said that is very interesting that those are the two qualities that you have pointed out this entire time about Jeffrey. I guess he is definitely the type of guy who wants his woman to be completely feminine in her soft energy, you know what I'm saying? Which I appreciate. Okay, I'm here for it. They also have that spiritual connection. She calls him her biblical husband. So they need to go ahead and choose each other for real. So they start talking about the aspect of kids. And he's like, yeah, I've seen her kids. They're beautiful. Now, here's my question. Has he met the kids or just seen a photo? Because that's two different things, number one. And number two, he said that, he had been a stepfather for 5 years. Again, you were not a stepfather. You may have lived in the home with a woman who had children, but unless you married her, you were not the stepfather. And you were probably not still in contact with those children. Now, according to Jeffrey's sister, she does like Andre. She likes him, but her only concern is if he can actually be fully in it because he doesn't have children and Jeffrey does. Now, y'all, let's slide on over to who chose who picked what. Y'all, let's get into it. So, first things first, we have Mark Anthony and Mercedes. It is clear that Mark Anthony has chosen her. However, Mercedes does not end up choosing Mark Anthony. She chooses herself because she needs that foundation in a relationship, especially considering this will be a new relationship. It's tough to start a long distance relationship when this is fresh and new, which I agree. It's absolutely hard to start a new relationship and it's going to be long distance. Now, like I said, I feel like whatever relationship she gets into, it's going to be hard because she's a flight attendant. It is what it is. But let's go ahead and move along. Alright, let's talk about Tony and Morgan. As we already knew, Tony was going to choose Morgan. However, Morgan decides to get on her soapbox and start preaching how love is patient, love is kind, and try to give him a little bit of scripture, and deciding to choose herself. And I kind of feel like she did this to be spiteful. I really think that. Because if we want to be honest, you could have left Tony at the house. You absolutely could have left Tony when y'all did the getaway. But you decided to wait all the way to the last episode to say, I don't think that you're ready to love. Because those were her exact words, and she wanted to make sure that she told him that he was not ready to love. And I'm just like, so you did this to be petty. Because you absolutely could have chosen yourself a long time ago. You weren't torn. You just wanted to make it all the way to the end so that way you could tell this man this. Bye, Morgan. Like, for her to get in her confessional and say that the nail in the coffin was him saying that Lyndon could have her, and also the fact that he slept with Natasha, like, that was such a big issue. I'm like, first of all, the Natasha thing, you're the one who brought that to the forefront, even though you heard about it a long time ago. And secondly, okay, again, if him saying that Lyndon can have you, why didn't you choose Lyndon? Why didn't you move forward with him instead of still trying to play around with Tony? But let's go ahead and move on because let's talk about Jeffrey and Andre. First off, Andre would have had to give me a whole other set of roses because he done took half her damn roses and sprinkled them on the damn ground so that we can have all these rose petals flying around in the air. Sir, not you taking the roses from the freaking dozen that you gave her and sprinkled them on the ground. No, ma'am. Nonetheless, those two chose each other. I had a feeling that they were actually going to choose each other in the end, like actually say, I choose you. You know, this is her biblical husband. We shall see if they're actually together by the time the reunion comes around, though. Alright, and our last couple is Cynthia and Anthony. Y'all already knew they were going to choose each other. Anthony was, very honest and open with all the things he said about her, and she was the same. Those two chose each other, and fingers crossed they actually make it to the reunion. Because y'all know, every time we watch these reunions, ain't nobody together no more. One thing that I actually wanted to point out was the fact that if we would have actually gotten rid of Morgan and Tony, early on, then we probably could have had Blake and Sue Ann as the other couple still standing, because I don't know if they're together now or even when the reunion played, but they did choose each other, pretty early on in the competition. But they weren't able to make it to the end. Now, speaking of this reunion, y'all, it looks like it might get a little bit juicy. Tony and Morgan still have issues. Of course they do. It looks like Jeffrey and Andre are not together. I didn't even see a glimpse of Blake, Sue Ann. I don't think I saw, who else I didn't see? I didn't see Cynthia and Anthony. I'm like, where is half the people at? But we shall see what goes down on the reunion. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.